In 1834, at the mansion at 1140 Royal Street in the French Quarter of New Orleans, a fire broke out. The neighbors rushed out to help, offering to pour water on the flames and help the family evacuate. However, when they arrived, they noticed that Madam LaLurie, the women of the house, seemed to be alone. A mansion without slaves seemed shocking, and a group of locals took it upon themselves to search LaLurie Mansion. What they found would forever change the public's perception of Madame Marie Delphine LaLurie, once known as a respectable member of society and now known as the savage mistress of New Orleans. Just a trigger warning, this episode is pretty graphic as it mentions assault and the R and M words, which I cannot say at the start of the video, so beware. The rumors have muddied the facts throughout the years, but there are a few details that have stood the test of time. First, the group of locals found the slaves in the attic. Second, they had clearly been tortured. Uncorroborated reports from eyewitnesses claim that there were at least 7 slaves, beaten, bruised, and bloodied to within an inch of their lives. Their eyes gouged out, skin flayed, and mouths filled with feces and then sewn shut. One particularly disturbing report claimed that there was a woman whose bones had been broken and reset so that she resembled a crab, and that another human was wrapped in human intestines. The witnesses also claimed that there were people with holes in their skulls and wooden spoons near them that would be used to stir their brains. There were other rumors that there were dead bodies in the attic as well, their corpses mutilated beyond recognition, their organs not all intact or inside their bodies. Some say that there were a handful of bodies. Others claim that there were over 100 victims. Either way, it cemented Madame LaLurie's reputation as one of the most brutal women in history. However, Madame LaLurie was not always sadistic. She was born Marie Delphine McCarty in 1780 in New Orleans. Her family had moved from Ireland to then Spanish-controlled Louisiana a generation before her, and she was only the second generation to be born in America. She married 3 times and had 5 children, whom she was said to attend to lovingly. Her first husband was a Spaniard named, I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong, I am not Spanish, Don Ramon de Lopez y Angolo. He was a high-ranking Spanish officer. The pair had 1 child together, a daughter, before his ultimately death in Havana while en route to Madrid. 4 years after Don Ramon's death, Delphine remarried, this time a Frenchman named Jean Blanc. Blanc was a banker, lawyer, and a legislator, and was almost as active in the community as Delphine's family had been. Together, they had 4 children, 3 daughters, and 1 son. After his death, Delphine married her 3rd and final husband, a much younger doctor named Leonard Louis Nicholas LaLurie. He was not often present in her day-to-day life and mostly left his wife to her own devices. In 1831, Madame LaLurie purchased a 3-story mansion at 1140 Royal Street in the French Quarter. As many society women did at the time, Madame LaLurie kept slaves. Most of the city was shocked at how polite she was to them, showing them kindness in public, and even man-mutting 2 of them in 1890 and 1832. However, soon rumors began to spread that the politeness exhibited in public may have been an act. The rumors turned out to be true. Though New Orleans had laws, unlike most of the southern states, that quote-unquote protected slaves from unusual cruel punishments, the conditions at the LaLurie mansion were far from adequate. There were rumors that she kept her 70-year-old cook chained to the stove, starving. There were others that she was keeping secret slaves for her doctor husband to practice Haitian voodoo medicine. There were other reports that her cruelty extended to her daughter, who would she punish and whip if they tried to help the slaves in any way. 2 of the reports are on record as being true. One, that a man was so scared of punishment that he threw himself out of a 3rd-story window, choosing to die rather than be subjected to Madame LaLurie's torture. The 3rd-story window was cemented shut and is still visible today. The other report concerned a 12-year-old slave girl named Leah. As Leah was brushing Madame LaLurie's hair, she pulled a little too hard, causing LaLurie to fly into a rage and whip the girl. Like the young man before her, the young girl climbed out onto the roof leaping to her death. Witnesses saw LaLurie buying the girl's corpse, and police were forced to fine her $300 and make her sell 9 of her slaves. Of course, they all looked the other way when she purchased them all back. After Leah's death, the locals began to doubt LaLurie even more than they already were. No one was surprised that her slaves were the last to be found, though there was nothing that could prepare them for what they were about to find. After the slaves were released from the burning building, a mob of almost 4,000 angry townspeople ransacked the home, smashing the windows and tearing down doors until almost nothing remained but the outside walls. Though the house still stands on the corner of Royal Street, the whereabouts of Madam LaLurie are still unknown. After the dust settled, the woman and her driver were missing, assumed to have fled to Paris. However, there was no word of her ever making it to Paris. Her daughter claimed to have received letters from her, though no one had ever seen them. In the late 1930s, an old, cracked copper plate was found in New Orleans' St. Louis Cemetery, bearing the name LaLurie, Madame Delphine McCarty, LaLurie's maiden name. The inscription on the plaque in French claims that Madame LaLurie died in Paris on December 7, 1842. However, the mystery remains alive, as other records located in Paris claim that she died in 1849. Despite the plaque and the records, it was widely believed that while LaLurie made it to Paris, she came back to New Orleans under a new name and continued her reign of terror. To this day, the body of Madame Mary Delphine LaLurie has never been found.